All right, let's jump right into this explainer. If you've looked at your company's org chart lately and thought, man, there has to be a better, leaner way to run this place, well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're exploring two really compelling visions for the future of enterprise structure. We're looking at this fascinating intersection where AI, lean business models, and the actual redesign of how we humans work together all collide. We've got two specific discussion papers to unpack for you: the Human Resources Operating System by Wowledge, and a pretty sharp critique called Beyond Human Readiness by Dr. Reg Butterfield. We're going to neutrally map out both of these perspectives to help you get a clear grip on the future of how organizations actually work.
Here's our roadmap for the breakdown. We'll hit the optimization paradox, check out the human readiness blueprint, look at three new roles that are emerging, dive into the structural complexity critique, enter the chief purpose officer, and wrap up with the future of work. Let's go.
Section 1. The Optimization Paradox. We're kicking things off with a massive systemic challenge that pretty much every modern business is staring down right now.
So, the fundamental tension today is painfully obvious. How do we literally do more with less? Organizations are under this immense, unrelenting pressure to get leaner and cut costs while simultaneously delivering way more strategic impact and higher quality output. The Wowledge paper calls this exact tension the optimization paradox. And look, we aren't just talking about a temporary economic dip where companies tighten their belts for a few months. No, we are talking about a permanent condition of the modern market: extreme volatility and workforce complexity. That's just the new normal now. And this whole tension is being massively accelerated by AI hitting the workplace. Think about it. As generative and agentic AI gets deeply woven into everyday knowledge work, the entire dynamic flips. We have to stop and ask a really tough question. What is the actual strategic purpose of HR when work isn't just being done by humans anymore? Historically, HR ran on roughly a 100-to-1 employee to HR ratio, right? Managing humans doing human work. But if we're suddenly automating huge chunks of admin tasks and totally reshaping workflows for a human-AI hybrid workforce, that old model looks incredibly outdated. You just can't manage headcount the old way when AI agents are literally sitting side by side with your human workers.
Moving to Section 2, the Human Readiness Blueprint. This brings us to our first major perspective, a blueprint from Wowledge designed to tackle this exact paradox. So, the Wowledge paper argues that traditional HR absolutely has to evolve, or it's going to risk total obsolescence. They're proposing a massive shift to something they call human readiness. Now, don't get it twisted, this isn't just some clever rebrand to make HR sound cooler. It's a fundamental pivot. It's moving away from just passively managing traditional people programs to becoming a proactive, enterprise-wide powerhouse. It's all about actively preparing the whole organization, the people, the structure, the tech, the culture, for a state of constant, never-ending change.
The crucial takeaway is this definition right here. Think of human readiness like completely ripping out your old internal HR engine and dropping in a massive upgrade so the whole car can drive faster and handle those sharp turns. It becomes this highly evolved, agile enabler. Instead of pushing rigid job descriptions and static hierarchies, this new operating system systematically optimizes an outcome-based flow of work. It actively pulls in external talent ecosystems, freelancers, contractors, and blends them with full-time staff, all while keeping trust high through transparent governance. It is a total top-to-bottom reimagining of what the people function actually does.
Section 3. Three new roles emerge. To actually pull off this new operating system, Wowledge essentially blows up the traditional HR department and splits it into three distinct, impact-driven roles.
Goodbye, standard HR generalists. The work is now divided into three super specialized functions. First up, the architect. They're the big picture thinkers designing the structural blueprint and setting up those crucial AI guardrails across the entire enterprise. Second, you've got the orchestrator. Picture them like a highly skilled internal consultant who drops into mission-critical projects just to meticulously design new human-AI workflows. And finally, the navigator. They're your boots on the ground, the vital human interface providing highly tactical, just-in-time coaching to team leaders and making sure all these new people technologies actually get adopted by the workforce.
And this whole model, it's grounded in a pretty stark reality. Get this, a massive 65% of organizations report that people management ops are already bypassing central HR and moving directly to line managers. That is creating a dangerously huge enablement gap as we speak. Business leaders are suddenly getting handed heavy HR duties, managing burnout, fixing team dynamics, integrating AI, without any of the infrastructure or training to actually pull it off. This architect, orchestrator, and navigator model is built specifically to bridge that exact gap, giving those overwhelmed line managers the expert tools they need exactly when they need them. Section 4, the structural complexity critique. But all of this raises a really profound question. Is upgrading the HR engine enough, or do we actually need to build an entirely new car? This is where Dr. Reg Butterfield steps in with a really hard-hitting structural critique. He totally agrees with Wowledge's diagnosis. The optimization paradox is absolutely real, but he seriously questions if the ultimate fix can just be an HR redesign. He points out that tackling modern enterprise-wide challenges like global workflow optimization and vast ecosystem integration requires immense cross-functional authority. You need sway over strategy, daily ops, tech, and finance. Historically speaking, no single isolated department, especially not a traditional people function, has ever possessed that kind of massive, far-reaching influence. In fact, Butterfield points out a glaring paradox hidden right inside the readiness model. Think about it. If you intentionally build this highly sophisticated, multi-layered HR function, packed with architects, orchestrators, and navigators, just to manage a lean business, well, the people function ironically becomes this heavy, bureaucratic exception to the rule. You are literally adding weight to a race car. Instead of readiness, which prepares individuals to survive a complicated system, Butterfield argues for coherence. Coherence is about meticulously designing the structural environment itself so that continuous, tiny adaptations are just the natural, easy rhythm of daily work. His point is super simple. You absolutely do not need heavy HR scaffolding to manage change if your underlying system is already simple, logical, and agile by design. Section 5. Enter the Chief Purpose Officer. To get that true organizational architecture, Butterfield argues the ultimate authority has to sit completely outside of traditional HR. Enter the Chief Purpose Officer, or CPO. Now, Butterfield is quick to stress that effective CPOs aren't just lounging on beanbags writing fluffy corporate value statements. No way. They are the hard-nosed stewards of the entire organizational operating system. Their job is to ensure that the company's core, unshakable purpose actively dictates who gets hired, how people are rewarded, how things are governed, and what brutal strategic trade-offs get made. The CPO provides this intense directional coherence that a purely functional HR fix just can't match, ensuring every single daily decision serves the ultimate business strategy. So we're basically looking at a fork in the road here. On one side, the functional fix, renaming and restructuring HR into a complex internal consultancy to tightly manage everything from the center. On the other side, Butterfield's systemic solution, using the Chief Purpose Officer to aggressively push authority outward, directly to the folks actually doing the work. When a crystal-clear purpose sets the boundaries and top-level strategy dictates the timing, the organization doesn't need all this heavy-handed management. It needs coherent design, beautifully simplified workflows, and distributed capability where adapting to change just feels natural. Which brings us to Section 6, the future of work. Ultimately, the future isn't about picking a winner between these two models, it's about combining their strengths. When we integrate these models, we see that both papers hold absolutely vital pieces of the puzzle. Wowledge gives us this incredible, forward-thinking blueprint for exactly how people professionals need to level up their technical skills, leaning hard into systems thinking, data literacy, and human-centered design. But then Butterfield swoops in with a necessary structural reality check. Those newly elevated skills have to be seamlessly embedded right into the actual flow of work, guided by a Chief Purpose Officer, instead of being hoarded inside some bloated, centralized department. The most resilient organizations going forward, they'll be the ones that vigorously prepare their people while simultaneously designing ruthlessly coherent, simple working environments. As Dr. Butterfield wisely notes, the future of work will not be determined by which model wins. It'll be determined by which organizations can integrate these ideas into coherent practice. These aren't competing frameworks at all. They are just complementary layers of the exact same massive challenge. Human readiness maps out the transition from a service provider to a strategic enabler perfectly, but coherent architecture ensures that transition actually serves the broader enterprise without accidentally bogging the company down in unnecessary bureaucracy. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to take a second and reflect on your own enterprise. Look closely at the structural shifts happening around you right now. Are you just renaming old HR roles and slapping on new layers of management to cope with AI and market chaos? Or are you truly stepping back to architect a coherent, relentlessly purpose-driven organization where human capability is naturally embedded into the daily flow of work? It's a massive, highly consequential question, and getting that answer right is undoubtedly what will define the successful enterprises of the next decade. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive today. Keep questioning the structure and keep designing for the future.